Hello everyone, welcome back. And this video I will refresh your memory about covered interest arbitrage. And then the next video I will introduce so-called interest rate parity, which is the situation where there's no covered interest arbitrage opportunity exists. So I will talk about because this is very important. So I will introduce cover the interest arbitrage again. Actually, refresh your memory, and we move forward, move one step forward, so we can. Because previously we all the cases is when the foreign country has relatively higher interest rate, so the U.S. investor will benefit from covered interest arbitrage. We will introduce one domestic, which is U.S. interest rate is relatively higher, and foreign investor will benefit from covered interest arbitrage. In this situation, the forward rate will move in the opposite directions. So let's look at this. So again, I want to refresh your memory about covered interest arbitrage. This is a process that we see there's two countries, and one country has relatively higher interest rate than another. So we try to buy the foreign currency of the country's currency with relatively higher interest rate. And then finally, we will convert it back to our domestic currency after we receive the interest payment. This covered interest arbitrage consists of two parts. The first part is interest arbitrage. The process that we see another market has higher interest rate, and we convert our own currency into that country's currency and deposit those cash into the bank to earn or capitalize the higher interest rate. And because we know when the deposit matures, we have to convert those foreign currency into domestic currency. In this case, we will expose ourselves into the foreign exchange rate risk. We try to hedge the risk, so we sign a forward contract. So again, this is a practice you've seen before. You have 100,000 US dollars to invest, and the current spot rate is $1.4 per unit, and the 90-day forward rate of British pound is 1.4. So again, we need to differentiate those two. This is S, this is the spot rate. Although the number is the same, the meaning of those numbers are different. So this is the second 1.4, this is the forward rate. The 90-day interest rate in US is 2%, and the 90-day interest rate for UK is 6%, which means as a US investor, you want to capitalize this 6% interest rate in UK. So what we will do is on day one, we will sell our US dollar and buy British pound. And because the spot rate is 1.4 here, this is the spot rate. So we can convert this 100,000 US dollar into 71,000 British pound. And then we deposit all the British pound in the bank and earn 6% interest rate. So the interest payment in total over this 90 days is 4,285.71 British pound. The ending balance will be 75,700 British pound. This is the total amount, including principal and interest payment. On day one, because we know we will receive this amount of British pound, and we will sell the British pound and buy US dollar. On day one, we will sign a contract to sell the 90-day British pound forward, which will put downward pressure on the forward rate, which means this forward rate $1.4 will drop because people keep selling forward contract. On day 90, when the deposit matures, you will just give this amount of British pound to the buyer of the forward contract, and then you will receive US dollars. And this 1.4 here, this is the contract rate. And then we found out our return is 6%, which is exactly equals to the 6% here. US investor here benefit from the covered interest arbitrage. Assume that because people keep selling forward contract, the forward rate drops. Originally it is $1.4 because the $1.4 because a lot of arbitrager actually sell the British pound forward contract. This will make this rate decrease. And again, we will convert our 100,000 US dollar into British pound, and we deposit this British pound amount into British bank. We can earn 6% on our deposit. Our ending balance is 75,700 British pound. On day one, again, we know we will receive this amount of British pound. We sell British pound forward contract. This will again put downward pressure on the forward rate. On 90 days, we give this amount of British pound to the buyer of the forward contract. Then they will pay us US dollars. So this is the when we convert it into US dollar, we use this new forward contract rate. So we found our ending balance is $103,880. The return is 3.88%, which is greater than 2%, but less than 6%. Because it's greater than 2%, we will continually do the arbitrage. Because it's still higher than 2%. And because we continue, the arbitrager continually trade on this, the forward rate will decline to even lower rate, 1.34717. And we do the same thing. So on day one, we sell this British pound, which put downward pressure on the forward rate. On day 90, the deposit matures, and you give this amount of British pound to the buyer of the forward contract, exchange for US dollar. And again, this is the forward rate here. So here is 1.34717. This is a forward rate. And then we find out our ending balance is 102,000. So our return is 2%. In this case, this is equals to the 2% invest. If you invested, if you're investing in US. So in this case, there's no arbitrage opportunity. So the arbitrage opportunity is gone. U.S. investor will invest domestic. So conclusion, when the home interest rate is lower than foreign interest rate and the forward rate is higher than a certain level, U.S. investor, the certain level is this. When the forward rate is higher than 1.34717, the U.S. investor will use the covered interest arbitrage, and they will get a return higher than 2%. And because they keep selling forward contract, this will put a downward pressure on the forward rate until this forward rate equals to this 1.34717. There's no arbitrage opportunity. So in this case, the U.S. investor will invest domestically. And another practice is when U.S. has relatively higher interest rate. This is one step further, but the British investor, will benefit from this. So here is an example. The British investor has British pound, 100,000 British pound. The current spot rate is 1.4, and the forward rate is F is 1.4. And the US right now has relatively higher interest rate. So in this case, the UK investor will first, they try to capitalize this 6% interest rate in US. So they will convert this 100,000 British pound into US dollar. Remember here, because it's a foreign currency converted to US dollar, we will directly multiply the direct quotation. So it's 140,000 US dollar, and then we deposited this amount of US dollar in US bank, and the interest rate is 6%. So the total interest payment over this period is 8,400 US dollar, and the ending balance is 148,400 US dollar. Remember here, we will buy the British investor will buy British pound and sell US dollar. So because it's buy British pound, we will buy the 90-day British forward contract. So which will put an upward pressure on the forward rate. So on day 90, when the deposit matures, British investor can just use those US dollar to buy British pound. So they will sell those US dollar and receive 106,106,000 British pound. The return is 6%. In this case, UK investor benefit from the covered interest arbitrage. And then remember here, because the UK investor will keep buying the forward contract, so the forward rate on British pound will increase. And originally it's 1.4. And it will increase to for example, 1.42. And then what happened to the return? So here it's exactly the same. And again, they will buy British pound, but the amount is the US dollar amount divided by the new forward rate. This is the new forward rate, and which will again put upward pressure. So after 90 days, when the deposit matures, they will receive this amount of British pound, and their return is 3.9 to 1% is greater than 2%. So they will continually do the arbitrage. But it's less than 6% now. So if the British pound forward contract rate becomes even higher, here is exactly the same thing. So here, when they use US dollar to buy British pound, they buy relatively less British pound because the British pound is now more expensive. This again put upward pressure. And on day 90, the British investor will use the US dollar to buy British pound. In total, they can receive 102,000 British pound. The return is 2%. So the conclusion is when home interest rate, which is US interest rate, is higher than the foreign interest rate, the forward rate is lower than certain level, and here the certain level is 1.4549. The British investor will use covered interest arbitrage to get a higher level return. As long as the forward rate is lower than certain level, which is 1.4549, arbitrager will continuously use covered interest arbitrage and put upward pressure until the forward rate reaches 1.4549, and there's no arbitrage opportunity. UK investor will invest domestically. And how could we find out this certain level? We use this so-called interest rate parity, and I will talk the interest rate parity in details in next video. Thank you, and see you in next video.